Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into quantum mechanics. And what the sources show is this really fundamental paradox.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? QM is basically the reason everything holds together.
Right. But it's also driving some, well, revolutionary stuff and maybe some dangerous stuff too.
It is the ultimate foundation,
Yeah.
You, me, everything solid. It wouldn't exist without this core quantum rule that energy isn't continuous. It comes in fixed packets, quanta.
Quanta. And that's the key.
That's the key. I mean, if energy wasn't quantized like that, classical physics says electrons would just spiral into the nucleus instantly. Poof, no atoms.
So no atoms, no molecules, no biology.
Exactly. Quantization is literally the only reason any of that is stable.
Okay, so QM gives us stability, but then boom, it throws in radical uncertainty, superposition, entanglement, stuff that completely breaks classical ideas of cause and effect.
That's the divide, yeah. Stability on one hand, this deep uncertainty on the other. And what's really wild is how actual living systems seem to have figured out how to use that instability.
How so? Like photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis is a prime example.
Right.
Okay, so a plant captures a photon, right?
Yeah.
That energy needs to get to the reaction center fast.
Right.
Instead of just randomly hopping around classically, that energy travels coherently, almost like a wave spreading out.
A matter wave across the molecule.
Yeah, exactly. It makes the whole process incredibly fast and way, way more efficient than any classical hopping mechanism could ever be.
Okay, hang on. If quantum mechanics saves atoms, makes them stable, how does it also, cause errors, biological errors?
Oh, well, that's another weird quantum trick. Tunneling, quantum tunneling.
Tunneling, like going through a wall.
Sort of, yeah. Protons, which are just hydrogen nuclei, they're light enough that they can sometimes spontaneously, well, tunnel right through an energy barrier they shouldn't be able to cross classically.
When it happens in DNA.
It does. It can cause the DNA bases, the letters of the genetic code, to sort of shift shape temporarily.
Right.
It's called tautomerization.
And that shift causes problems.
Big problems. It leads directly to mismatch errors when DNA replicates. So mutations. And those mutations are linked to, well, cancer, aging, all sorts of things.
So that sounds like it could just be chemistry. How do we know it's definitely quantum tunneling? The sources mentioned a test, right? Something about deuterium?
Yes, the kinetic isotope effect, or Ki. That's the smoking gun.
Okay, explain that.
So you take the hydrogen atom involved, the proton, and you replace it with deuterium. Deuterium is basically heavy hydrogen, same properties, but twice the mass.
Okay.
Tunneling is highly sensitive to mass. A heavier particle tunnels much, much less easily. So if you swap in deuterium, and the mutation rate suddenly drops way down.
Then tunneling was the main way it was happening, because you only changed the mass.
Exactly. You've proven it's a quantum effect. Now, the big enemy, whether you're talking about photosynthesis or DNA or even quantum computers, is decoherence.
Decoherence, meaning the quantum effects just disappear.
Right. These delicate quantum states, like coherence or superposition, they're incredibly fragile. At room temperature, they vanish in femtoseconds. Tiny fractions of a second.
So the challenge everywhere is keeping those quantum states alive long enough to be useful, whether it's in a leaf or a lab.
Precisely. Which brings us to technology, where engineers are trying to harness QM to get around old limits. Take solar cells.
Right, current silicon solar cells hit a wall, don't they? The Shockley-Queisser limit.
They do. They can't efficiently use the really high energy photons from sunlight. That extra energy just gets wasted as heat.
But quantum dot solar cells, QDSCs, they work differently.
Yeah, they use these tiny semiconductor nanocrystals, quantum dots. And the cool thing is their electronic properties, like the energy levels or band gap, depend directly on their physical size.
So you can literally build dots of different sizes to absorb different colors, different energies of light?
You got it. You can tailor them. You can potentially harvest multiple parts of the solar spectrum, including those high-energy photons, before they just turn into heat. Theoretically, you could push efficiency way past that classical limit, maybe up to 66%.
Wow, okay. And what about precision? Like in designing drugs, QM seems essential there too, but isn't simulating molecules really hard?
Oh, incredibly hard.
Okay.
Especially big ones like proteins or DNA complexes. Thousands of atoms. Trying to calculate the full quantum wave function for something that big used to be computationally impossible, a massive bottleneck.
So how did they get past that? There's a method mentioned, FMO, fragment molecular orbital.
FMO, yeah. It's clever. Basically, it breaks the huge molecule down into smaller, overlapping fragments.
Manageable chunks.
Exactly. You calculate the quantum stuff for each fragment and its interactions with nearby fragments, and then piece it all back together. It lets you get accurate quantum chemical results for enormous systems that were just unthinkable before.
And that actually led to discovering real drugs.
It did. It was apparently critical for finding certain inhibitors, for allergic asthma, for example. Big, complex molecules interacting.
Okay, so from solar power and drugs to, well, the really big questions, philosophy. This is where QM seems to really shake things up, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I mean, the standard classical scientific view tends to see consciousness as just,
Yeah.
something that emerges from complex brain activity. An emergent property, but not fundamental itself.
It's like software running on the brain's hardware.
Kind of, yeah. But then you have quantum mechanics, especially entanglement, that weird non-local connection between particles proven by Bell's theorem. It just doesn't fit the classical picture.
And some interpretations take that really seriously,
Right.
leading to something like quantum panpsychism.
Right. It's the idea suggested by the very nature of entanglement that maybe consciousness isn't just emergent from complexity. Maybe it's an immanent property, something fundamental to the universe itself, like spin or charge.
Whoa. So not just in brains, but everywhere, inherent in the fabric of reality.
That's the radical implication in some of these interpretations, yes. Consciousness as a fundamental feature deeply woven into the physical cosmos through these non-local quantum connections.
Which means life isn't just some accidental biological thing that happened on Earth.
Under that view, no.
No.
It elevates life, or at least the potential for consciousness, from just biology to perhaps a necessary physical property of the universe itself, deeply intertwined.
That brings us right back to the start, doesn't it? QM defines the rules, the limits of what's possible. It gives us stable atoms.
But also drives mutation and change through things like tunneling. And the constant battle is against decoherence, that fragility.
So here's the thought to leave you, the listener, with. If the very stability of your atoms, the integrity of your DNA, relies fundamentally on these quantum rules.
And if entanglement suggests a deep, non-local connection woven through the universe, what might it really mean if your own subjective experience, your consciousness, is also part of that fundamental quantum picture?
Yeah, what does that imply about?
Well, everything. Definitely something to mull over.